What was supposed to be routine courthouse day turned into an explosive family meltdown. My cousin Sharon, 31, had been hiding a massive affair with someone close to us. But in the middle of the courthouse hallway, with the whole family present, the truth finally came out. The confrontation wasn't just about cheating, it was about a grudge years in the making, and they blew up in public. I never thought I'd be writing something like this, but here we are. My cousin Sharon, 31F, has always said this thing about needing to win against me. Ever since we were kids, she'd find a way to turn everything into a competition. Grades, jobs, even relationships. I brushed it off as family rivalry until last week at the courthouse, when her secret finally blew up and I realised this was a grudge she'd been carrying for decades. The reason we were all at the courthouse in the first place wasn't even about Sharon. My uncle David, her dad, had a property dispute, and a bunch of us were there to support him. The courthouse was buzzing with people shuffling papers, lawyers in sharp suits, the smell of burnt coffee wafting from the vending machine area. It was tense but routine until Sharon's drama hijacked the whole thing. I noticed Sharon seemed off that morning. She was dressed a little too fancy for the occasion, in a tight navy dress and heels that clicked way too loudly across the marble floor. She kept checking her phone, her face tight every time it buzzed. My Aunt Linda whispered she's hiding something. I thought she was being dramatic until I saw who Sharon was texting. Her phone lit up and clear as day, the name Mark popped on the screen. My stomach dropped. Mark isn't just some random guy, he's my brother-in-law. Married to my sister Hannah. I froze. It felt like my ears were ringing. I leaned over to my sister, but before I could even whisper, Sharon snapped, "Mind your own business." Loud. Loud enough that a couple of people waiting for the hearings looked over. That was the beginning of the avalanche. Hannah heard. She turned, her face pale, and asked, "What did you just say?" Sharon didn't back down. She actually smirked. I said, "Mind your business, or maybe you should ask Mark what he's been doing when he's not home." It was like the air got sucked out of the courthouse hallway. My uncle David, lawyer, literally stopped mid-sentence and stared. Hannah's hand started shaking, and she whispered, "You're lying." But Sharon, never one to keep her mouth shut, tossed her phone on the bench and said, "Go ahead, read it." I swear, my heart was pounding so hard I thought I'd pass out. On that phone were months of texts, not just flirty, but explicit. And the worst part? Sharon looked proud. Like this was her big victory lap. It clicked for me right then. This wasn't just about Mark. This was Sharon finally cashing in on a grudge she'd held against me and my sister for years. And she did it in the most public, humiliating way possible. The courthouse, surrounded by strangers, our family, and people who'd never forget the scene. The second Sharon threw her phone down, it was like lighting a match in a room full of gas fumes. Hannah's face went from pale to beet red in a second, and she screamed, "You're disgusting, that's my husband." Everyone in the hall froze. People waiting for the hearings stopped pretending not to listen, and just outright stared. A security guard even glanced over, hand on his walkie-talkie like he was deciding if he should step in. I grabbed Hannah's arm, whispering, "Not here, not now," but she ripped away from me. She was shaking so hard I thought she might pass out. Sharon, meanwhile, leaned back against the bench like she was enjoying a show. "Well, please," she said, crossing her legs, "don't act like you didn't know your perfect little marriage wasn't so perfect. Mark came to me because you're boring." Hannah gasped like she'd been slapped. And honestly, I wanted to slap Sharon myself. My Aunt Linda finally stepped forward, hissing, "Sharon, stop this nonsense right now. This is not the time or place." But Sharon just actually laughed and said, "Oh, Aunt Linda, maybe you're the one who should stop pretending everything's fine. Dad's case isn't even about the property, is it? It's about covering up his debt." That hit like a bomb. Uncle David went red in the face, barking, "Sharon, enough, don't you dare air our business out here." His voice echoed down the marble hallway. People were openly whispering now, phones creeping up like they were recording. And then Hannah did the one thing I begged her not to. She picked up Sharon's phone. She unlocked it, no passcode, because Sharon wanted this to be seen, I swear, and the messages, they were bad. Not just we should meet up bad, but full on detailed. Explicit texts about where they'd been meeting at hotels, his car, even my aunt's guest room once during a barbecue. Hannah's scream could have shattered glass. "He brought him into our family's house." She held the phone across the floor. It clattered against the wall near the clerk's office. That was when the courthouse staff finally intervened. The clerk came out, face tight, saying, "Ma'am, you need to lower your voice or we'll have to ask you to leave." But Sharon, of course, seized the spotlight. "Well, don't worry, we're almost done here. The truth is out." She tossed her hair like she just won a beauty pageant instead of blowing up our entire family. I looked at her and it hit me this was never just about Mark. This was about me. About the fact that I got married first, that I had a stable life, that Hannah and I were closer than she ever was with anyone. She'd been waiting for this moment, stockpiling her bitterness like ammo, as she fired it all off in one courthouse hallway. The damage was done. Hannah was sobbing, Uncle David was shouting, Aunt Linda was trying to physically drag Sharon away, and people were recording the whole thing. All while the judge for David's case walked by and shook his head. Sharon had turned a property dispute into a public circus, and none of us were ever going to forget it. The moment we stepped outside the courthouse, it felt like the tension followed us out into the blazing sun. Hannah stormed ahead, clutching her purse like it was the only thing keeping her upright. Sharon strutted behind her, almost smug, like she'd just won a prize fight. The rest of us trailed after, heads down, because people had literally pulled out their phones inside her and we knew the whole scene might already be floating around social media. I tried to catch up to Hannah. "Let's just get in the car, please." But Hannah whipped around, tears streaking her face. "How long did you know?" That question cut me in half. "I just found out this morning, when I saw the text, I swear, Hannah." Sharon snorted. "Oh, come on, you expect her to believe that? You two always cover for each other, perfect sisters, right, perfect lives." She said it with so much venom I swear I could taste it in the air. "Sharon, shut your mouth," Aunt Linda snapped, finally losing her cool. She grabbed her daughter's wrist, but Sharon yanked away. "No, Mom, I'm done being the black sheep in this family, done pretending I don't exist while everyone worships Hannah and her golden marriage. Guess what? Golden boy Mark didn't think she was so special." Hannah lunged at her then. I had to hold her back while she screamed, "You ruined my life, Sharon, for what? To prove some sick point?" For the first time, Sharon's face faltered. Just for a second. But then she straightened her shoulders and said, "He came to me. Don't twist it like I chased him. Maybe if you'd actually been what he needed, none of this would have happened." That was it. Uncle David exploded. "Enough, you've embarrassed this family for the last time. Do you have any idea what you've done to your cousin, to me, to everyone?" Sharon's lips curled into this cold little smile. "Oh, I know exactly what I've done, and maybe now everyone finally stops pretending Hannah's a saint." I swear, I almost slapped her. But then Hannah dropped the real bomb. "You think this is about me? Sharon, you've been bitter since high school. You tried to steal my prom date. You spread lies about me in college. And now you've slept with my husband just to prove you're better. You're pathetic." People walking by on the sidewalk literally slowed down to watch. A guy pushing a stroller shook his head like we were some reality TV drama. That was when Aunt Linda broke. She put her face in her hands and sobbed. "I should have stopped this years ago. I should have gotten you help, Sharon." And Sharon? She just stood there, arms crossed, chin high, like she'd finally won. But all I saw was someone burning every bridge she had left. The courthouse door slammed shut behind us, and it felt symbolic. Whatever family we had before, it wasn't coming back the same. We ended up in a courthouse parking lot, but it felt more like a battlefield. Cars honked as people tried to squeeze past, but our family was too wrapped up in the chaos to notice. Hannah was sitting on the curb, shaking and crying, while Sharon leaned against her car with her arms crossed, like she was waiting for applause. I tried to comfort Hannah. "Come on, let's just go home, we'll figure this out." But she shook her head violently. No, not until she admits why she really did this. Her eyes were bloodshot, fixed on Sharon like lasers. Uncle David looked like he aged 10 years in an hour. He said quietly, "Sharon, if you have any decency left, you'll apologise, not just for Hannah, for all of us. You've disgraced our name in public. My lawyer had to walk away because of this mess." Sharon rolled her eyes. "No, please. Like anyone cares about your precious reputation, you should be thanking me for distracting everyone from your debt. That sent him over the edge. You ungrateful brat. I paid for your college, bailed you out of that charge, and this is how you repay me. By humiliating your family." I swear, the whole parking lot went silent after that. Even Hannah stopped crying long enough to look up. "Wait, what? Charge?" she asked, very small. Sharon's smirk flickered, but she recovered quickly. "Oh, so now you care about my life figures." Yeah, Dad covered it up, like he always does, because heaven forbid anyone know his daughter isn't perfect. She spat the word perfect at Hannah like it was poison. My Aunt Linda was trembling. "We didn't tell anyone because we thought you'd change, Sharon. We wanted to protect you." "Protect me?" Sharon snapped. "No, you wanted to protect yourselves. Keep up the fantasy that we're some picture-perfect family. Newsflash, we're not, and I'm not playing the scapegoat anymore." The air was thick with accusations and secrets, but Hannah wasn't done. She stood up, wiping her face, and said, "You keep blaming everyone else, but the truth is you've hated me since we were kids. You've been waiting for me to fail, and when I didn't, you made it happen. You ruined my marriage just to get even for something I don't even remember doing." That struck a nerve. Darren's face darkened. "Oh, you don't remember figures. You stole everything from me, friends, attention, even my prom date, and guess what? Now I've taken something back." I could feel my blood boiling. "You didn't take anything back, Sharon. You destroyed Hannah's trust. You wrecked your own family's reputation, and for what? The grudge that only you kept alive?" For the first time, Sharon didn't fire back immediately. She just stared at me, jaw clenched, like maybe deep down she knew I was right. But then she shook her head and muttered, "No, I won. She finally knows she's not untouchable." And with that, she got in her car, slammed the door, and peeled out of the parking lot, leaving all of us standing in her mess. By the time we got home, the courthouse chaos had followed us like smoke. Hannah went straight to her room, slamming the door so hard the wall shook. Uncle David collapsed into the living room armchair, burying his face in his hand. Aunt Linda was pacing, muttering about how this shouldn't have happened, and I felt completely numb. I tried to piece together what happened while everyone else simmered in anger or shock. "We need a plan," I said finally, voice shaking. "Mark needs to be confronted, and Sharon, we need to figure out what to do about her." Uncle David looked up, red-eyed and exhausted. I don't even know where to start. My daughter-in-law, my reputation, everything is a mess." Then Hannah appeared in the doorway, her hair messy, face streaked with tears. "We need to talk to Mark, alone, and then we deal with Sharon, because right now, she's enjoying this, and I can't let her get away with it." I nodded. I agreed, but we also need to prepare ourselves for the fact that she might never admit she was wrong. Just then, Aunt Linda blurted out, "She's been planning this. All these years, she's held it in and waited for the perfect moment to strike." That hit like a punch to the stomach. I realized she was right. Sharon didn't act impulsively, this was calculated. And that made her grudge even more dangerous. Mark finally showed up, looking terrified. He avoided all of us, mumbling, I didn't mean for any of this to happen." Hannah's voice cracked. "Didn't mean for this to happen. You slept with her, you've been cheating on me behind my back, and now she's flaunting it like a trophy." Mark tried to explain, stammering about a moment of weakness and Sharon pushing him, but Hannah wasn't having it. "No, you chose this, and you need to own it." I watched, fist clenched, as the house became a war zone. Aunt Linda and Uncle David were frantically trying to mediate, while Sharon's texts kept lighting up everyone's phones. Apparently she was taunting Hannah remotely, sending more incriminating photos and messages. I grabbed my phone. "She's still doing this," I shouted, showing everyone the messages. And for a moment, I felt pure rage. Years of grudges, secrets, and manipulation had exploded in our faces, and Sharon was still treating it like a game. Hannah sank to the couch, sobbing. "I can't believe this family. I trusted all of you, and she ruined everything." It was heartbreaking. The kind of grief that comes from realizing someone you loved, someone you thought you knew, is capable of utter betrayal. We all sat there, silent except for Hannah's quiet sobs. Uncle David finally said, "Tomorrow we'll deal with her legally and with Mark, but tonight we try to stay together, at least, even if she's gone." And in that moment, I realized the battle wasn't just about Mark, or Sharon, or the affair. It was about every long-held grudge, every secret, and every lie that had been quietly eating at our family for decades. Sharon didn't just expose an affair, she exposed the cracks in all of us. The next day, we were back at the courthouse. This time, it wasn't a casual property dispute, it was tense, formal, and everyone could feel the weight of yesterday's chaos. Sharon had already arrived, sitting at the back of the courtroom with a smug, untouchable look. I wanted to punch the air. Uncle David's lawyer had advised us to stay calm, but staying calm felt impossible. Every glance at Sharon made my blood boil. She looked like she owned the place. The judge called the session to order, and everyone shuffled into their seats, the echoes of our argument from the day before still hanging in marble halls. Hannah sat stiffly beside me, gripping her purse like a shield. She leaned over and whispered, "I'm ready to watch her squirm." I nodded. We weren't going to let her act like she was untouchable this time. The first surprise came when Sharon's phone buzzed. She checked it, and before anyone could stop her, she whispered something loud enough for a few rows to hear. "Don't worry, everyone will see the truth." The truth. That was her favourite word. Our lawyer stood up and addressed the judge. "Your Honour, before we proceed, we have evidence we need to submit regarding the affair involving Mark Thompson, husband of Hannah Reeves. This is relevant because the judge raised an eyebrow, and the courtroom shifted uncomfortably. Sharon's eyes narrowed. "This isn't about me," she said sharply. "It's about what everyone else has been hiding." Aunt Linda gasped, whispering, "Oh no, she's going there." And she did. In front of everyone, Sharon started revealing old grudges, years of tiny betrayals, lies, and family disputes she'd collected like trophies. It was brutal. My Uncle David was flustered, trying to stop her mid-sentence, while the judge tapped his gavel and asked for order. "Sharon," the judge said firmly, "this is not the place to air grievances from 10 years ago. Focus on relevant facts." But Sharon wasn't finished. "Oh, I'm focused. The relevant fact is that everyone's been pretending we're a perfect family, and now the truth is out. Everyone sees who really controls their own lives." Hannah, usually composed, finally exploded. "Control. You destroyed my marriage to prove a point. You humiliated all of us in public." Sharon smirked. "Maybe you should have been paying attention to who really cared about you." It was surreal. The courtroom felt like it had transformed into a battlefield. People whispered, phones recorded, and the judge looked like he regretted having to step into this nightmare. Finally, the judge intervened decisively. "MS, reuse. The affair and family grievances are not grounds for this case. You will refrain from further personal attacks in this courtroom." Sharon's face flickered with annoyance, but she leaned back, clearly thinking she'd won some moral victory anyway. After the session ended, outside the courthouse, the family huddled together. We knew Sharon had struck again, even if legally she was restrained. Emotionally, she had left a scar. Hannah muttered, "I thought the worst was over yesterday, but seeing her in there, she doesn't stop." I nodded grimly. "She never will, not until she's gotten what she's been holding on to for years, and we have to be ready." The long-held grudge wasn't over, it had just escalated. A week later, we finally gathered at my aunt and uncle's house. It wasn't a celebration, far from it, but it was the first time we were all in one place in Sharon's courthouse spectacle. The tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. Hannah sat in the living room, still raw and fragile. Mark hadn't come, not that we blamed him. The humiliation had been mutual, and trust was shattered beyond repair. Uncle David and Aunt Linda were trying to keep the house from feeling like a war zone, but every glance at the empty driveway reminded us that Sharon could appear at any moment. We didn't have to wait long. Sharon showed up, unannounced, like she owned the place. Her smirk was in full force, and I felt a mix of fury and exhaustion. "Hi, family," she said sweetly. I thought I'd come by and see how everyone's holding up after the big reveal. Hannah's face went pale, and I stepped in front of her. "Sharon, if you think you're welcome here, think again. You've humiliated us, and you betrayed everyone who trusted you." Sharon tilted her head, mockingly thoughtful. "Oh, poor Hannah, always the victim. Maybe now you'll see why I felt invisible all these years." I clenched my fists. "Invisible? You didn't have to cheat with Mark to prove anything. You didn't have to destroy our family. This isn't about you anymore, it's about the lives you ruined." For a second, Sharon's confident facade cracked. Her eyes flickered with something: guilt, remorse, or maybe just frustration that we were bound down. But just as quickly, she shook it off and said, "I don't regret anything. I'm done hiding, done pretending. You all forced me into the shadows, and now you're seeing the real me." Aunt Linda finally spoke, voice trembling. "Sharon, hiding or not, there are consequences. You've burned bridges that may never heal, and some things you can't fix with words." Sharon paused. For once, she said nothing. She just looked around the room, eyes lingering on each of us like she was measuring the damage. And then, almost quietly, she muttered, maybe some things have too far gone." With that, she left. No grand exit, no dramatic slam, just silence where her chaos had been. And in that silence, we realized something. Even though she had won some twisted emotional victory, we weren't defeated. We were still standing. We still had each other. Over the next few days, the family slowly started picking up the pieces. Hannah filed for separation from Mark. He moved out quietly, knowing he'd lost all trust. Uncle David and Aunt Linda focused on damage control, both public and private. And I found myself thinking about Sharon, not with anger, exactly, but with a heavy sense of relief that, for now, the circus was over. The grudge Sharon carried had hurt everyone, yes, but it had also exposed the truths we'd ignored too long. Old resentments, unspoken rivalries, and secrets that had festered now had a chance to be addressed carefully, painfully, but honestly. We didn't know if Sharon would ever come back into our lives in a healthy way, or if she even wanted to. But one thing was certain, the courthouse showdown had changed everything. It left scars, yes, but it also left a chance for us to rebuild stronger, even in the shadow of betrayal. And as I sat quietly with Hannah and Aunt Linda, I realized sometimes the people who hurt you the most are also the ones who force you to see what you've been avoiding. Sharon had torn us apart, but she'd also shown us where we needed to stand together.